Hey, welcome to Hot Takes.
We're on.
I'm Young Shiro. I just got done.
Just
got done clowning Skelly for their SAT core verbose nature, but obviously I respect it as well.
Words are fun. That's all there is to it.
Words are fun. I don't know which of us is more eloquent, but at the end of the day, I guess it's different types of communication styles.
I think it's different types. I think it's actually kind of the same.
People, right?
I just think it's different. Yeah.
But anyway, we want to welcome everybody who's tuned in. We see a lot of people in chat, a lot of favorites, a lot of regulars, and some first-time chatters. Thank you guys for being here, and thank you for being so gracious and patient with us when we had to postpone last week. Both of the boys were exhausted from playing shows, and we're back. And we got an extra special episode tonight with a very much loved member of the community. Be careful, artist.
Yes, hooray!
The head of Homesick FM and the mastermind behind the recent Circuit Zero tour.
Trailblazer, current legend, future legend, all the things. Absolutely.
So light up that emote wall, guys. As you can see, any emote you type in shows up. So light that emote wall up and be ready with your opinions, your arguments, your questions for Be Careful tonight. Just want to remind everybody to check out the official Hot Take Spotify playlist at the link that I'm about to drop right in chat. And just also want to thank anybody who has donated and remind everybody that donations are optional. But if the spirit moves you, as Doctor says, hit the exclamation point and type donate, as I have just demonstrated in the chat. Every little bit helps. Just saying, got an extra special set of stickers that I'll be handing out at ElectroniCON for people who have donated. And at the end of the day, all of these things would not be possible without you guys, the viewers. So thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start tonight off with some recommendations, courtesy of Dr. Chris.
Okay, well, let's do some recommendations. I mean, first off, I do absolutely want to shout out an album that I've been listening to a lot, and I'm sure many of you have been listening to as well, which is A-Hero's new album, Cloud Zero.
Oh, yeah.
It is a massive album, several tracks long, and it really builds off the sound that he established with his first releases, but takes it to a kind of more expansive level. The entire album is a very, very fun vibe. A lot of the sort of drum beats that you're used to hearing from A-Hero and some other people within this, what I would refer to as kind of many people refer to as the vaporwave zero sort of sound. Yes. And I've been listening to the song Do You over and over again, because the whole thing about A-Hero, what he does really well in general, is creating this sort of cloud of comfort and vibrancy that sort of swallows you up and just kind of rides you along this very gentle but creative wave. What's really fun about the songs is basically you can see how he's basically kind of fitting in many different grooves into one song, and it all blends together. And if you listen to it carefully, you can hear all the separate ones. But the nice thing is it is kind of like a cloud. If you want to, you can just sort of, allow yourself to be engulfed by it, and then it all sounds like just one large system. And so he's done that very well on previous albums and previous works, and this one is even more refined. And you can also tell that it's been designed for live performance. You can kind of feel the way that I've seen him do it live, and you can feel the way that this has been designed by somebody who has the intention of kind of bringing things into the real world and playing more live shows and developing his abilities as a live performer. And I think this is kind of got that expertly done and well-crafted energy in here. And I highly recommend the album, Cloud Zero. Another album I want to talk about is, let me just make sure I get the name for it right, because it's been one I've been listening to a lot lately. Let me just get the name of it again. It's Soma Vision Deluxe's new album.
Nice.
Maybe you guys have heard of it. It's Creation. He did it with Comet, K-O-M-I-T. Have you guys listened to this yet? Creation?
I have not. I badly need to.
It's really good. It's phenomenal.
I know.
It's a really interesting boundary-pushing vaporwave album. There's so many ideas on it. That's what I really love about this record. So basically, you start listening to it, and you think you have kind of you think you've gotten a hold of what the vibe of it's going to be, but no. There's so many, and every single one of these songs, you can tell the amount of care and craft that's been kind of put into each one of these tracks. Like their Comet and Soma Vision Deluxe clearly like will have an idea, and then they'll be like, okay, let's start with this. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, I got another idea. Now let's start with this. And so you start thinking it starts sounding like, okay, is this a chill synth album? Is this a traditional vaporwave album? Are we doing something in a hypnagogic realm right now? But no, it's all those things at once. And I really do love the way that these songs are so intricately designed, but not in a way that is sort of like overwhelming, if I can say it properly. It's not like in an overwhelming way. Everything flows together very naturally and comes together in a very interesting an interesting manifestation. And
Sick.
I really like this album a lot, and it's so fun because basically I will listen to a song and I want to recommend not just the song, but like specific parts of it. Do you ever have that where you're listening to an album, you're like, oh no, this song is really
That's how
good.
you know you're a DJ.
But like, oh no, wait till you get to like 1 minute and 30 seconds in it, because then that's like, that's my favorite part. And then like, it's very interesting to have favorite parts of songs. This feels like, once again, it's very intricate. You can tell a lot of care has been put into this record, and that this is people who worked really hard and really just very proud of what they've done. You can feel that. I can just totally picture them finishing a song and be like, that's awesome, but what if we add one more thing to it right here? And so if you have a chance, check out Creation by Soma Vision Deluxe and Comet. That's a really fun album, and I liked it a lot. And I guess one other album I'm going to recommend is, if I can find it again, because I was just listening to it. It's hold on one second here.
You got this. Also want to just say thank you, Videodrome, for the raid.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
A hero jumped in right when you started singing their praises. What's up, a hero?
Oh, wonderful. I'm happy to hear that. Absolutely. Go check that album out now.
Show.
So it's on Bogus Collective. It's by a vaporwave artist called Beta Blood. It's called Guilty of Life.
Beta Blood.
Yeah, I'm really digging this album a lot. It's a very fun sort of experimental take on vaporwave. It's got this sort of like almost it's sort of a how to describe it. It's kind of an intimidating vibe, but also like a sarcastic vibe, but also sort of a sincere vibe. There's some very high amount of experimentation, but still very, in my opinion, pretty accessible. I really want to recommend this album. It's kind of got a bit of a sarcastic take on slightly depressing ideas, but I like that. I enjoy a bit of gallows humor. I enjoy a bit of strangeness, and I enjoy the idea of kind of taking your times where you do feel alone and do feel, maybe a bit of sadness, or do feel a bit of I don't know, just anger with yourself or anger with life, and turning it on itself and kind of just sort of laughing at it a little bit, but also making an interesting sort of thing along with it as well. It's a very interesting journey. I really like this album a lot. As far as the traditional vaporwave sound goes, this is one that's kind of caught my attention. That caught my attention a little bit more.
You said it's got a traditional sound?
I would call it, yeah, but it's still something that's pushing that a little bit. You know what I mean? It's all sample-based, but it's pushing it a little bit. It's sort of pushing with the frequencies are a little bit more high-end.
Getting some like Begotten vibes, or maybe like Nothing.
No, it's a little bit more playful. More playful than that.
I like stuff that kind of brings the bad vibe.
No, it's yeah. I mean, the bad vibe
but
is
playful.
There because it's clearly like a little bit of like about like kind of like having a bit of like being in a depressed mood, but it's putting energy into it, and it's turning it on side, and it's making it sort of interesting, experimental, and playful. Honestly, I'm telling you right now, it's not like
sounds fun.
It's not like just sort of an ambient work. You know what I mean?
I got you.
There's a lot of movement in the album. There's a lot of rhythm in it. And I enjoyed it a lot.
What's the artist's name again?
It's Beta Blood. Go listen to Go to Bed Alone. I like that song.
I love it when people recommend one specific track. Go to Bed Alone by Beta Blood.
Just listen to the whole album, though. I
know.
enjoyed
I just
it.
have no
I thought it
attention
was.
span.
I thought it was a little bit. I thought it was twisted in the exact way that I like things to be kind of twisted. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
So,
I've been watching.
I'm not
your
sure if
Insta
it's going to be
story for a
everybody's
long
cup
time.
of tea, but it's certainly my cup of tea. It definitely appeals to my sensibilities and like my like darker sense of humor that I have. So I liked it a lot.
Got to have a little gallows humor if you're going to be a surgeon.
Yes.
All right, guys. That's our recommendations for tonight. Thank you so much. I badly want to listen to all 3 of those albums like yesterday. So, running up for a Hero, Sonavision Deluxe, Comet, and Beta Blood. Want to remind everybody, please let us know if our levels are off, if anyone's too loud or too quiet, music's too loud or too quiet. And I want to talk about my hot take for tonight. You know, the beautiful thing about this scene is how accessible everybody is, right? We've got people that are relatively high flyers, right? I mean, and they're ants in the world of the overall like music scheme and scene, but still, we've got some celebrities of sorts, right, in the vapor scene, and they're still super accessible. A lot of them are super humble, answer DMs, or at least approachable IRL. Not all of them, but a lot of them. But, you know, for better or for worse, some cults of personality develop occasionally around various members of the scene. And, you know, I have heroes. You're one of mine, obviously, Chris. And, you know, obviously people like George Clanton, the SPF 420 crew, Vectroid, you know, just random people, right? But just want to remind everybody, you know, you don't want to get too hung up on building any sort of a religious movement around any one particular person because, you know, at the risk of sounding super like, you know, gauche and inspirational, it's all inside of us. It's inside each and every one of us, the ability to create and recognize beautiful creations and to bond over those creations together and build the scene ourselves, right? And it's fitting that we would have somebody like Be Careful on tonight who's recently taken some huge leaps to help grow the scene. As wonderful, and maybe I'm rambling, but as wonderful and as amazing as some of the characters and demigods in this scene are, just want to put a little cautionary statement out there about just maybe refraining from deifying anybody in the scene and working with your local community and working with your artists that you know that are within arm's reach to build the scene yourselves, to build the scene together instead of waiting for some big amazing person to do it for you. And this is coming from somebody who doesn't know how to do anything. So, you know, obviously.
It's ridiculously not true.
So you know, if you have to be a helper, be a helper. Show up, support, flyer your city, spread the good word. I don't know, run a merch table, whatever. But you don't need to wait for some, you know, big, huge demigod in the scene to do it for you. And that's my hot take. Sound off in the chat with your opinions, and I eagerly await your retort, Chris.
Oh, I mean, I completely agree with you, and I do think that there's like a bit of irony associated with the idea of like cult of personality existing in vaporwave, particularly if like the roots of the movement scene genre have more to do with anonymity and not being so clearly visible. So it is strange the way that works, but that's just the way all of this sort of thing works. It starts off one way, or it starts off this way, or it starts off with a certain way of doing things, but like this is just the way that most things kind of move in this direction. Most artistic movements always move in this direction where they just, someone's going to get deified. Someone's going to get a hagiography associated with them. And it's fine. That's great. It's fine to have that with artists. But you're right. Everything's in you. That's like the whole point of this, right? Is that you can do it too. It's like,
we can do it together.
That's the whole point of this, is that you don't have to have the musical skills. You can, you can start right now by downloading a free DAW and slowing down some music.
Can learn the difference between
and
a balanced
reverbing
and unbalanced connection today.
And now you can do it too if you want. You don't have to either. That's the other thing too. It's like, a lot of people want to just enjoy the music. Most people do. I mostly just want to enjoy it. I make music, and other things, but like most of my time is spent enjoying it. You know what I mean? Most of my time is spent enjoying and supporting people. And So, like, if I can understand where people can have favorite artists, people can have favorite
Of
characters, but you
course.
definitely don't depend on them to do things. Don't bother them to help you all the time. Do you know what I mean? If you because they are accessible, you should do it
And
yourself.
sometimes they'll let you down. So, they're just people.
Well, 100% they're going to let you down most of the time because they're probably really busy too.
That too.
Like, that's the other
Right.
thing is they're really busy. So, like, never take it personally if you do send a message to somebody and it takes them a while to get back to you, or maybe sometimes they don't get back to you because there's just a lot of other things they're doing. I get a bunch of messages. Sometimes it takes me a long time to get back to them too. And I'm, not like some of the really bigger artists, but
Right.
It is what it is. People have lives. Just keep, do it yourself. I agree.
Do it yourself with your neighbors. What do you say we
Yeah.
bring the person of the hour on and see what they think about
Oh,
this?
yes, please.
Everybody give a warm welcome to everyone's favorite, Be Careful. Go ahead and mute yourself. Unmute yourself, sorry. Yeah. What's up?
Yo, what's up, guys?
We got Be Careful in the house. Everyone's
What's up?
favorite.
Oh, man. So happy to have you here. So,
We got
I'm
a
so
demigod
happy to be here.
with us tonight. One of the aforementioned bearers of the flame. What do you think
I
about
do-
Some guy.
truly believe that Be Careful, wait until you look back on what Be Careful has done in like the next few years or so, and people are gonna go like, oh man, he really just like brought so many people together. He really just had so many ideas and such charisma and such kindness, and like it's gonna be the thing that people talk about. It's very special. You know what I mean? And it's very impressive. And I think that people already appreciate it now, but they'll really wait, and you gotta I already see the future, and I can already see that people are gonna be like, oh wow, what an important part of this portion of the history of the scene.
Yo, I really appreciate that, especially coming from you, honestly. Like, I feel like a lot of what I do is inspired by basically the whole community. Everyone is so helpful and contributing with so many things. I'm just doing my part,
The helpers definitely are the unspoken heroes. Just people that show up with an extra table or run merch or run the door. But, I mean, there's a certain... I mean, you got to speak to the level of stress that I know that you dealt with organizing this Circuit Zero tour.
I don't know how you do all the things you do and how you work with all the people that you work with. The level of energy and focus is just... It's almost unprecedented. But continue. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. I feel like I can't really do everything that I do without all the help I get, though. Like, there's no way I would have been able to do this tour without, like Isaac and Lux and Ronnie and Virtual 94. Like,
Shout out Virtual 94 and Ronnie and Lux.
Everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing
Previous
people in the
guests.
scene.
I was honestly able to just find the right people to help me, and I'm really, really grateful of that. I'm so glad that I got this opportunity to work with everybody that I got the opportunity to work with this tour, because it was huge for me. I'm not gonna lie. It's something that I've been wanting to do since I got into the community.
I mean, it started with the live streams, which were phenomenal, by the way. And then I remember hearing the rumblings about an actual tour. And, I'm so thankful that I got invited to participate in a couple of dates. I wish I could have performed alongside you, but I definitely saw all the feverish, just fervent messages about having to set things up with venues and negotiate deals and Airbnbs and people's trains running behind, and I was just like, couldn't be me.
So stressed out just hearing you talk
Couldn't
about
be
it.
me.
No, you guys definitely saw me going through it in that Discord server. I'm not gonna lie. There was so many things that were going wrong for a while, and luckily I'm just so happy that I did it with the people I did it with, because Van Gogh, Simple Syrup, and A Hero, they were just so great to work with. All of these supporting artists were so understanding with everything.
Totally agree.
I didn't do this flawlessly. I made a lot of mistakes, and luckily people were just understanding enough about those mistakes, and hopefully I'll learn from them, and we're going to be able to do this in better terms next time.
Well, I think yeah, and that's the thing is that just with everything in the scene, when we do things in this scene, it's a learning process. You know what I mean? We don't have the benefit of these people who are industry experts or managers and whatever. This is all just we want to do a thing. We want to see our friends. We want to connect with each other. We want to connect with our fellow like-minded friends. You know what I mean? We're all spread across so many different places that that's like the most important thing about this tour was just like being able to be in the presence of the people that are like you and that are kind of far away, but but to be around them and to talk with them outside the world and to play for them outside just the world of the internet. It's just a very special thing, and it's the sort of thing that once you do it and you participate, you never forget the times that you meet your people from your little vaporwave tribe, like in the real world. You never really forget that, you know what I mean? Because it happens so infrequently. So doing this is a big deal, you know what I mean? And it's the sort of thing that people will talk about as like, oh, wow, that was a thing? That actually happened? I can't believe it. Like, how crazy. This is the first time that really happened? Because I don't really think this has ever happened before. Save for, of course, the when 100% Electronica does occasionally their showcase tours. This has never really happened before. And once again, like George wasn't really even able to pull that off until several years into running his label and several years into his career. You know what I mean? George had to really tour a lot as himself and establish connections with promoters and touring and establish a touring route himself first for over a period of several years before he was able to start kind of bringing other people along with him. So you just did it. Like, that's crazy. Like, without the benefit of too much experience. You know what I mean? Like, that's trial by fire. That's crazy. No one has ever done that before. Like, George hasn't even done that before. You know what I mean? Like, no one ever, did that much. That's very impressive to just take that all on. What was the impetus? Were you just like, you know what? This is something I want to do, and the only way I'm going to learn to do this is to just go out and do it?
I feel like that Chicago show that we did back in December is really what pushed me to just explore the options. And it wasn't just me either. It was, I remember when we initially started talking about this, it was a Hero and Q. All three were just talking in a Discord server about how we could just do small shows throughout the year.
Shout out Q as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Q is absolutely
fantastic
amazing.
individual.
I wish they were able to be part of the tour, but sadly things kind of fell apart on that end. But all the help that Q initially gave us with the planning of what cities would kind of lead us to other cities that we would probably want to perform at was detrimental to what we had to do, because there was no way we were going to be able to do this tour if there was like long travel dates in between every single date. We were able to find like a path that kind of just made a lot of sense.
And I hope it's okay that I bring up, you had a little bit of trouble with one of the specific tour dates. Did you guys not?
Yeah, two of them.
Two of them? I didn't know that.
Yeah, initially, instead of Rhode Island, we were doing New York, and we had a venue that actually scheduled a date with us, and we made a whole agreement with them about how much we were going to get paid, what night it was going to be, and what load-in time was, and then they absolutely just ghosted us out of nowhere.
Oh, my God.
And after that happened,
really unprofessional.
Basically the same thing happened with a different venue, but after they kind of settled in on an agreement with everything, they kind of switched up on us and told us that we would have to pay instead of getting paid.
Oh,
and
my God.
That kind of ruined it completely.
Yeah,
so
gross.
We had to drop New York completely and go to Providence, Rhode Island, and that's where Sev was able to secure a venue.
Hell yeah, Sev.
And then with DC, it was basically the same thing that happened in New York. We just had a lot of issues with communication with the venues, and that led to us kind of falling for a venue that was a little outside of DC, actually.
Lux says the venue should be named and shamed, or at least definitely spread around like, hey, don't play at this venue. They'll take you for a ride.
I firmly believe that it could have just been the current booking manager or just something going on. Like, I try to be much more forgiving to a lot of venues after
You're
the
a good
pandemic
person.
Because thank you. It's just I know that there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that they're probably taking care of, and sometimes they won't prioritize some artists, and as shitty as that is, we kind of have to move past it.
True. That's really really mature of you to say.
Yeah,
And you pulled
absolutely.
it off. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be something that I think people are going to remember. Chris often will mention about the first couple of ElectroniCONs. There was no sponsorship. It wasn't funded by Red Bull. It was a completely like DIY, power of the people type of movement. And, you know, though that it might be a much smaller scale, like, hey, like, you guys did this one day with your own money and, you know, some phone calls and some Excel spreadsheets and a lot of stress, you know.
No, it was definitely a crazy amount of stress. Like I'm definitely downplaying how upset I was in a lot of ways.
Oh, I'm sure you are right now. You are so diplomatic. That is exactly what's happening right now.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I was
God bless you.
absolutely.
It's okay. You're on
furious
hot takes.
for.
This isn't funny
No,
yet.
Yeah, no, I was really in a really really angry mood for about 2 weeks because I was also trying to do what I can to work extra at work so that I could fund some of the lodging and the transportation if I had to.
Oh my goodness.
So I already had.
I'm sure
not
Leo
too
heard
much
all
time.
about this probably during the whole
Right.
process.
Oh yeah, Leo wanted to kill me throughout all of this. And I completely understand.
Shout out Leo, she's the best.
Leo is a real one.
Yeah. No, Leo, they were honestly very understanding with it as well. Like they understood that I was really frustrated because most of my free time was going to these venues that just didn't even want to communicate correctly. But hey, it happens.
I always feel kind of bad whenever I have to spend a lot of my free time preparing for shows and whatnot. So shout out Leo for being a supportive partner. Y'all are worth your weight in gold.
You're just preparing for shows, but same thing with me for the most part. Even with Terminally Chill, the venue is there now, and there's no more like it's regularly scheduled when I do it. But the idea like doing an actual tour, oh my goodness, it's just everyone's very impressive, and it's an amazing thing, and I want to keep talking about this, but I also want to start rewinding a little bit, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's keep it moving.
I kind of want to rewind a little bit to how did you get into making music?
So it's kind of random. When I was about 8 years old, my dad bought like a karaoke system or something from Guitar Center.
Karaoke system.
Sick.
This is interesting. Go on, sir. Go on.
Guitar Center just started. They send the spam in the mail. They just send you magazines of things that look really really pretty or really expensive that you want. And one year, one of the catalogs just came with a guitar that just really appealed to me. So when I was 10 years old, I got my first guitar, and I slowly started learning how to play guitar. And after a while, I wanted to record myself. So in a couple of years, I bought some recording equipment. And by the time I was 15...
What was the initial recording equipment that you bought?
It was really... really shitty stuff. I think it was just like a little tabletop Tascam recorder.
Nice.
A 4-channel. And,
I got one. I'm looking at one right next to me right now, actually. I have one on the table over here. I still record through it occasionally for certain synthesizers just to create the textures. Go on, keep talking.
You got to let me borrow that for ElectroniCON.
No. So the one I got, one of the channels wasn't working. I was really just limited to like 3 channels, and I would just do loops of whatever I played on guitar and just like kind of banging on my acoustic guitar to replicate like percussion. And I started getting into hip hop around that time, and I just decided to transition into producing off of my computer, and that kind of changed a lot for me.
So you started getting into hip hop, and then you decided to transition into producing on your computer. So I guess you just downloaded your first DAW and you just took it from there?
Yeah, so I didn't really get too serious about it for a while. I downloaded Ableton, and I started on Ableton. And it was a really old version of Ableton too. I forgot which one it was. But I was on that for about 3 or 4 years without really having much ambition with it. when I got out of high school, one of my first jobs was working at Guitar Center, so I ended up buying a bunch of gear that I still have that kind of guided me in my thought process with the way I produce. Like a lot of my
Interesting.
software is guided specifically by hardware that was made for it. There's a company named Native Instruments that makes like the machine. They make a bunch of MIDI controllers that all kind of pair flawlessly with their ecosystem of stuff.
Nice.
And as much as I hate to be part of like a kind of closed off ecosystem like that, it definitely helps the creativity flow for me a little bit because I don't have to worry about making sure something is working or making sure that my hardware will like kind of give me what I need. It's all basically set there for me.
So you have a flow. You have a workflow then, basically.
Yeah. I work with 2 different DAWs and 2 different pieces of hardware that I mostly use every single day.
Oh, well, that's very interesting. And the thing about having systems like that is it does help develop a sound. You know, the constraints are the things that create the that inform the personality of the music. You know what I mean? And inform the personality of how you work with it. So you basically kind of, the reason, you know, you have a specific sound, in my opinion. You know, you have kind of this, there are the elements of like the sort of hip hop to it, but then the elements of the gauzy synths and the warmth that kind of just travels through each track that you make. And that is, I guess, maybe specifically informed by the fact that this is how you make it. This is the instrument. This is the instrumentation that you use for it. And that's why you can feel the presence of you in all the songs, because it's just like you have your workflow down. And that's a really important thing to have, because a lot of times when people don't, it is very difficult to know where to go. You know what I mean? I'm a firm believer in like man-made constraints for oneself when they make music.
I always feel kind of dumb whenever I don't take full advantage of something, but then at the same time, it's like, well, it makes it mine, though.
Yeah.
One of the major things that I kind of always stuck to with any type of art form that I got into is always making sure that I had some type of constraint like that. I think it's really important for me because sometimes having too much freedom makes you kind of get stuck on certain things.
You get choice overload as well?
Exactly, yeah.
It's the worst.
And I just can't handle that. I feel like there is some sort of freedom in just having really basic choices that you can go through and just try to highlight what you can out of your own personality to come through those instruments or those, like, whatever piece of software you use.
Right. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. There's so much creativity in that. You know what I mean? You start to lose creativity sometimes when there is too much to do. You know what I mean? Because then you're so concerned with understanding the dynamics or parameters of everything that you might do, and you never get to it. Like,
you
so
get
I've
hung
seen,
up on the details.
Man, I don't know. I've seen some of these DAWs that are so overly complex. They're designed by, you know, like I can't remember the name of one right now, but I remember there's this one that's just like you can customize everything inside of it. You can customize the way it looks. You can customize all these different parameters.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And I've seen some people be like, you know, I'm not using Ableton anymore because I've got this one now. And I'm like, oh my God, are you ever even going to get any music done with this one? Like, it's crazy. Like some of the DAWs, some of these DAWs are just so excessive. And, yeah, I mean, I find that when I have things that when things get really complicated, I get so concerned with just understanding the complexities that I'm like, oh, it's been several hours and I've made nothing.
Honestly, sometimes those rudimentary tools are harder to use.
Yeah, absolutely. And I try to pull most of my methods from my other passion, which is cooking. When I was in culinary school,
yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, culinary school kind of taught me
that's
to appreciate all of the simplicities of everything. It's much
your
better
culinary
having
background.
You got to see the way this guy eats.
I forgot about that. Yeah, go on. Oh, I have so many more questions now. Keep going.
Right?
Yeah,
sorry.
There's something much more important about having the freshest ingredients and highlighting their natural flavors, instead of just kind of trying to mask it with a bunch of spices or a bunch of kind of difficult
Very good point.
cooking techniques. So I use the same methods when it comes to music, like making sure that you have a solid basis before you do anything, and kind of doing what you can with everything else that you use within a song to highlight that essence of the ingredient or instrument that you're using is just really, really important.
That's such an fascinating take, and that's man,
Right.
what a great metaphor. Oh, that's so fascinating
Like
that
work
you
smarter,
can kind
not
of.
harder.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's so fascinating. That the culinary, you really are cooking beats. How about that?
So what are your
Exactly,
best
yeah.
dishes?
You know,
Like top 3.
that's hard to say. I feel like I make a really good bulgogi.
Bulgogi, hell yeah.
Ooh, really?
I haven't had bulgogi in ages.
You haven't had bulgogi
Yeah.
in ages? Oh man,
I'm about to
it's
ask
so
Leo what
good.
the best dishes that you make are as well. I'm wondering if they'll
I
be
can
the
make
same.
some really, really good grilled squid and grilled shrimp.
Wow. Oh wow, fascinating stuff. So hold on, I have to back up a little bit now. Okay, well, first thing I just want to get back to the early music stuff really quick. Can I ask you what was the first music you connected with? Like, what was the first time that you heard something and you're like, oh man, I might want to do this myself at some point.
You know, it started early on with dad rock, to be completely honest.
That's fucking crazy.
That's great. All right, continue. Let's
yeah,
go.
I absolutely loved Led Zeppelin when I was in like middle school, and
They did some
it's
amazing
weird.
things.
It's
Great.
It's probably because I initially my parents grew up very religious and very Christian. I didn't really
Same.
listen to much except for like Michael Jackson and one Pink Floyd tape when I was in elementary school because those were the only
Wow.
non-Christian cassettes that they had back then.
That's so funny because like that's I think the experience of being like a young kid and having only a couple pieces of music to listen to and then becoming your basis for everything, that's a very common experience. Like I remember myself like having only a few cassettes when I was very young and like was randomly having like the Last Action Hero soundtrack and being like oh, look at all these different bands on here. I don't know, it was like 8 or something like that, the same thing. And it was just, that was like my piece of music I had that was mine and that it was not my parents and that I had gotten. So I just remember like would put on that cassette tape and I would listen to all of, like the songs by Queensryche or AC/DC that were on it.
Nice.
And I would study them and I'd be like, oh, this one sounds different because of this. And like you just sort of like, yeah, you like that. That's so important. That first piece of music that you get that's yours as a child, it really does get charged with a certain energy, and you never really forget it. So
Yeah.
that's interesting that for you it was the Pink Floyd tape, the Pink Floyd album CD, and the Michael Jackson one. And what an interesting pairing. You know what I mean? What an interesting
it was
on
so random.
two different sides of the of a musical spectrum right there. So you listened to that a lot as a kid, and where did you go from there?
Video games kind of pushed me to other places as well, and of course,
Big
friends with Bird. I Tony Hawk's, all the Tony Hawk's games got me into.
Oh, yeah.
punk.
Nice.
I bet,
and
absolutely.
As soon as LimeWire became big, that's where I finally got into hip hop. I heard AT Aliens from Outkast for the first time.
Oh
And that
wow, great album.
I feel like that
Phenomenal
really,
album.
really got me stuck into music in general. I couldn't think of how someone could have sculpted something so obviously referencing a bunch of their influences while still kind of gaining their own sound within it.
Yeah, that's
Hell yeah.
a really great way of describing that album in general, though. That one in particular is like a really great hip hop album to start with. You know what I mean? Because there are so many ideas in there, and there are so many different types of flows and references to their own inspiration. So really good, really good hip hop album to start with.
Yeah, no,
That's a good
I'm
one.
so lucky that I had the right people kind of introducing me to the right music.
Mm-hmm.
Sick as fuck.
So, and then after that, you thought, well, maybe I want to start making my own beats.
Yeah, and I personally, I have never considered myself an artist. I always consider
Really?
myself more. Yeah,
That's an interesting
consider-
take. Go on, elaborate on that, sir.
So I would mostly say I'm more of a creative director over anything else. If you see most
I
of my
could see that.
projects, you'll see that I constantly have collaborators because
You have a lot of collaborations.
yeah, I think one of the most important parts of art in general is the community aspect of it, and being able to kind of challenge my favorite artists with something that they might not particularly go for initially is
Yeah.
one of the most fun things that you can do. I'm so happy I've been able to collaborate with everyone I've been able to collaborate with because I
Yeah.
feel like I get to see a different side of them.
That's very fascinating that you mentioned that, because even like the remix that you sent me to do that I've been working on for a long time, it really challenged me a lot too. Because like I picked the song and I'm like, oh yeah, like how am I going to take this and make it my own? How am I going to use the tools I have, and what am I going to add? How am I going to make this different so it doesn't sound like the same thing? How am I going to? It really, I'm not going to like. I think you have a knack for pushing people, and you're not even doing that much to do it. You just present them with the tools or present them with the certain energies. And I can speak from personal experience that just working with the remix that you've given me to do, like really pushed me a lot, to tell you the truth. And like I ended up making like a very big song out of it. And so I can see the creative director aspect to what you're saying, but it's interesting. I would still say that creative director aspect, like, that makes you quite an interesting artist, in that you're playing with these tools of the energy of other people too, and harnessing them and yourself together and really putting together something big. I think that the interesting thing about the art that you're making, in addition, it's not just the music, it's the overall experience. You know what I mean? It's the overall community. You know what I mean? That is still like a form of art. This is like, it is still like this big installation piece that involves like community. Do you know what I mean? And that you're overseeing.
I love that aspect of it. I feel like a part of the actual art is the making of the album and the making of the song, but also the way we promote it, the way it comes out, and like for me,
that's
visuals
all
have
part of
always
the art.
been huge.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's why when I met Min Curry, I honestly feel so lucky that dude understands exactly what I want every single time.
Extremely talented.
Min Curry's kind of in the same boat. I mean, they threw their own Helios Online festival.
Yeah, I feel like Min Curry deserves
very much
so
a
much
creative
recognition.
director, and they got their
I
hands
did
in
vo-
so
I
many different like talent buckets.
I did vocals for a Min Curry song, "The Lake House." Look it up.
Oh, sick!
Yeah, that's on Holographic. Holographic is absolutely amazing.
Great.
I actually got to
Really
master
great
that
album.
album as well. It was
I forgot
so
you
fun.
do that too.
Yeah, that for a while before the pandemic, I had a recording studio open, and I would also mix and master people's music.
What the
That was
fuck?
What?
We had a
You do
recording
everything.
video? Where does this come? What is going on here? This is like there's some sort of strange supernatural energy around. Be careful. I
know,
dig the
right?
fuck
I
out
feel
of it,
so
man.
insecure.
I dig the
everyone
fuck
that I
out of
bring
it,
on this
man.
show.
Oh yeah, it's just interesting. But you know what? Like I consider everything that you're talking about to be part of the artistic, your artistic, oeuvre. That is to say, you have all these interesting sort of plans and ideas, and it involves the community, and every person working with you becomes a part. And every project you do and every person who works with you becomes a part of the artistic statement that you're making. You know what I mean? And it's this very kind of community-based concept of let's get together, let's create some things, let's push ourselves a little bit, let's make something beautiful, let's do something beautiful that will last. And the way it lasts is not just in the way that it's recorded and the way that it's put down in a physical form, but also in the way that it sort of it becomes part of our nostalgia, becomes part of our shared experience. You know what I mean? You're actually just creating nostalgia for all the artists that work with you to look back on this time. You know what I mean? It's interesting. It's very.
Be careful is the opposite of a gatekeeper.
Yes, this is correct.
No, I'm always looking for new artists to work with. I feel bad because recently I feel like I've been so busy with the tour and everything, but it's been kind of harder to find newer artists to work with. But I'm just so happy with the people I can work with these days as well. Like I said earlier, Min Curry, I'm currently working on a project with him, and all of the ideas that we share together, I feel like we can always find something in between what we're both looking for to create something really unique. And stuff like that is just so hard to come by. The chemistry that I've had artistically with Min Curry is just it makes me so happy, to be completely honest.
And that's why I'm so glad I brought up that hot take. Like, there's so much raw, ridiculous talent in this scene, and a lot of people don't know about it until they like go to a show and they meet somebody, and it's just like it's like waveforms. Like you have two waveforms that are kind of coincidental, and then they double the size of the peak and trough of the wave, and that's every single person working in tandem to create a gigantic movement.
Mm-hmm.
Just homies that know how to do shit.
Yeah.
Everybody. No, go ahead.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Oh no, I just said that. That's just what's really fun about all this is that just some people know how to do something, other people know how to do another thing. There's always everybody has some sort of knowledge that they can bring to the table, or some sort of ideas they can bring to the table. And yeah, that's it. Go on, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, and I like the experience within this community, especially with like all of the small group chats and discords that you can find, because it almost feels like you're jumping in between lunch tables at a cafeteria.
Yeah, great.
What a great metaphor.
yes, that's a great one.
I have to get my computer
I can't wait to jump. I can't
back.
wait to jump lunch tables at ElectroniCON, bro.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be the best part about it. But just being able to experience all these small groups full of so many talents and people and motivated and people that are just passionate about everything they do. It's so hard to find that anywhere else because everyone is so supportive of each other. It's a
beautiful thing.
Trip. Yeah.
And yeah, there's a little bit of pride and there might be, some egos, but for the most part, I feel like people are just hungry and thirsty to build something beautiful together. And
yeah,
obviously,
exactly.
There's a lot of us that are more able to do so than others, and that are more privileged than others. And one other thing that I love about this scene is that people tend to try to find people that are slept on and raise them up, right, and give them a platform and make sure that they're heard.
Yeah, not even not just giving them a platform, but also giving them the tools as well. Like,
celebrating them.
I remember, yeah, absolutely. I remember you on the NRail server talking about how DS Dude sent you a bunch of DJ chips at some point.
Yeah.
Whenever I go into any Discord server, you can see at least one channel where there's people constantly giving tips about how to do things on software, what type of hardware will help them out, ways of improving themselves when it comes to any type of art form, and that's just so beautiful to see. No one really gatekeeps anything, and everybody's just so willing to help out the next up and coming artist.
We got a couple, and I agree with you thoroughly. We got a couple questions in the chat that we want to address, courtesy of our very own PJ Rourke. PJ says, "Who is the most slept-on artist active right now?"
Hydra and Ming Curry. I know that they both get a lot of attention, but Hydra's autosave, Hydra's all of their 3D renders, everything that Hydra works on is top tier. Like I can't even describe it.
Hydra Void for sure, and Ming Curie as well for sure. I totally agree with that. But yeah,
these new guys are frightfully talented. Like the establishment should be afraid because these kids are, I don't know if they're kids necessarily, but like newcomers are skilled. Very skilled.
Yeah. If that whole group, the Creamery, they're just so insanely talented. You have Neckbomb doing stuff like Hard Cream. You have Zero. Zero has done 3 of my cover arts, and they just every single time I send them a concept, they get back to me within a week, and it's flawless. Like I've never really had to do any changing for anything that I presented them with.
I've seen some of Zero's work, and it's very, very impressive. PJ's got another question. If you could hear a collab with any 2 artists, who would they be?
Oh, man. I feel like I should have prepared for this because I asked the same thing to PJ.
Right. That was their gotcha question in their episode.
Yeah. I feel like NRail and Simple Syrup would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Simple Syrup is so fire.
Yeah. Also, did they not? NRail Super? I guess they have. No, they haven't. No,
it's got to be
they
done.
Haven't. Oh, I also just want to say shout out to I Am Zero as well. We were just talking about them, who did the album cover for the last Doom mix, I believe, right? The Doom
Are
Trip
you
compilation.
serious? Why
does
that not surprise me?
Yeah, the most recent volume, Doom 6. Yeah, they did the render, that really beautiful, interesting purple angel in the
not surprised in the least.
Yeah, in the little strange steeple with disco balls above it.
I absolutely love that cover art.
Yeah, they did the cover art for that. But anyway, that's a good comment. That would be very interesting. Simple Syrup and NRail.
Simple Syrup and NRail would go the fuck off.
Hey, you were really good at collaborating with people. How do you do that? It's so hard for me to figure out how to collaborate with people. You have so many collaborations on every one of your albums. What is the process like for that?
It's weird because even the songs where I don't have any collaborations, it's kind of like I'm collaborating with my past self because I just sample my own
like
music
that.
from like 5
That's
to 10
cool.
years ago.
That's
I've
real
done that
cool.
before too. Wow,
So-
fun.
I really love that.
Last 4 albums that I put out are all just music from 5-10 years ago that I saved the stems of that I ended up remixing, and some of those stems I send out to other artists. Most of the time I send something that's kind of complete and try to get finishing touches from people, but sometimes, like with the Donnerlands collabs, I send them a really bare bones idea and see where they go with it. And it's just always dependent on the artist that I'm working with as well, because some artists, they prefer going back and forth with some of the songs. Some artists will just immediately finish up the song for you.
Wild.
Or sometimes they'll send me some stems of what they're working on to see if maybe there was something I can put onto it. So it's really dependent on the artist.
I love that.
Oh man,
I love remixes. I love collaborations. Honestly, whenever two artists or more
can't believe how
have like the
versatile you
best
are.
of their work together, it's just like,
oh man, I can't believe how versatile you are with doing these collaborations. How you're like, okay, this will be this way, this one will be that way, and you just roll with it. Very interesting.
we need more.
Do you just
remixes
reach
in the
out to
Vaporsphere.
somebody? Do you just reach out to someone that's like, hey, I've got this thing. You want to see if you can do anything with it, or is that how that works?
Yeah, it's typically fairly basic like that. I think I feel most comfortable when I'm trying to collaborate like that, because that's kind of the environment I started most of my serious production in. Whenever I was producing for hip hop and when I had my recording studio, I always had like 4 or 5 people in there, and I kind of always tried to ask for the opinions of people around me or hear what type of melodies they would like to have on top of it. And just that environment of having that live feedback for what you're currently producing, and not really having too much time to overthink things, because it would make them kind of bored of the same loop that you have repeating, really helped me develop the way I produce online as well.
Interesting. You have very good ways of, I guess, reading, what is the best way to collaborate with someone. Reading what is the best way to, that's a big skill. You know what I mean? Is being able to like have, see the person, to work with the person, and be able to read what is going to be the most comfortable way that they can collaborate with you. To be able to tell that's a big deal.
Thank you. I feel like a lot of it just stems from having as much clear communication as possible. Like if someone is telling me that they're struggling with coming up with something, I ask them if there's anything that they want to send me that I could work on, or if I can send them something else. It's really just working with every individual artist in a way that makes them feel like you're prioritizing that collaboration at the time, because I feel like every single collaboration has to feel important between 2 artists for it to actually come out correctly.
I see.
That's a man of the people right there.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
We got a great question from Chaser Wave. They want to know how the Game Boy Advance release came to be.
The people at Oasis are absolutely insane.
They are crazy. Yeah. They do amazing work.
Yeah, I think it was Min Curry's idea. I'm almost 100%
Not surprised at all.
sure that it was
Oh, yeah.
Min Curry and Sleep Pattern. And they were just, I think they saw a TikTok of someone that put a TV show on a Game Boy Color
I think I've seen
cartridge
that.
and just like kind of dove deep into it. And
Me Curie says, lol, I was high on TikTok.
yeah, that sounds like Min Curry. Yeah,
I'll take it.
So the fact that they found that, and Oasis was just immediately down to source different multi-ROM cartridges from different suppliers and just experiment with them for, I think it was like, they got it within 72 hours of starting to experiment with the cartridges. So
Oh, wow.
it's really, really cool what they were able to do. I cannot take any credit in that at all. I was just lucky enough to get some stuff released like that.
You heard it on Hot Takes.
All right, so let's back up again now. Hold on. Okay, so you're producing on Ableton. You're doing this. At what point does this get to be... Well, first of all, do you have musical training?
Not at all. I have
I
You
don't
love
the
either.
most
Great.
basic
I don't either.
understanding of music theory. The most basic. You could honestly say that I barely understand it.
Right.
Me too. So the next question is, all right, at what point does this go from I'm playing around on Ableton too. I think I'm going to start working with other people. And then what point do you get a recording studio exactly?
I know. I need to know this too.
What's going on here?
So I mean,
And then now you're
always-
mastering too, and like what? Go on, start with the recording studio.
So when I was going to culinary school, I was going to the Arts Institute of Roslyn before it closed down, and I used to always sneak into the sound engineering department there.
Oh, I love that.
And
yeah.
I spent any free time I could in between classes just kind of learning what I needed to do with that and learning from the people that were taking those classes and kind of creating a community with those people. And every once in a while they would come back to my place or I would go back to theirs, and we had a really basic setup back then. It was just like an interface and a microphone and a pair of headphones. Not even, we didn't even have studio monitors. It was just kind of us doing whatever we could with the resources we had available. After culinary school, I kind of wanted to see what I could do to invest in my future so that I could do something that I really enjoyed, because I went to culinary school to become a chef, and I realized that the food industry was absolutely not for me. And
It's pretty cutthroat.
it felt
very
really dumb
exploitive.
going through that, but luckily it did help me kind of learn what I did want to do. And I was working at Guitar Center still, and I had really deep discounts from a lot of the manufacturers. If I contacted them directly, I was able to get kind of only a certain percentage above like what their profit margins were.
Oh wow.
And it was really, really great. I was able to get a lot of amazing equipment out of nowhere, and that's when I decided to move out of my parents' house, and I moved to a house with a few roommates where I turned the whole downstairs into a recording studio.
Wow.
And that's what I did full time. I was working every single day and never really had any time to rest, but I absolutely loved
Damn.
it.
Are you one of those rare humans that can like function on less than 6 hours of sleep every night?
Yeah, I can't drink caffeine unless I'm drinking alcohol, which is horrible. So I just don't drink caffeine at all.
It would be too much
the
energy
fuck?
for you.
Yeah, no,
God, I
Wow.
can drink one of those rain energy drinks and just go right to bed. I'm so envious.
No, caffeine, I used to drink a lot of caffeine, especially when I was going to culinary school, because you need it. You need it to survive in that type of industry. But after a while, I noticed that it was starting to trigger my anxiety disorder. And I was getting really, really bad panic attacks and anxiety attacks
Ooh.
all the time.
Fuck
That
yeah.
happens
has
with
to
me
be-
when I have too much caffeine as well. Yeah, I have had to
Yeah.
cut back a lot as
Bro,
well.
I've seen you knock them back. You got to be careful.
Dude, it's rough. Caffeine
Careful.
can really
I'm
trigger
sorry.
some of the worst.
was
That's you
good.
got to give me one faux pas tonight.
Be careful. No, be careful. I was like, haha, fun.
Yeah. I'm gonna go get a drink
Yeah.
and let y'all jaw, and then when I come back, I'm gonna ask you a bunch of dumbass questions.
No, but I am honestly constantly tired. I'm not gonna lie. I wish I could have caffeine, and there's some nights where I really want to, but I know it's just gonna put me in a horrible headspace.
No, then you stay away from it. That's fine. So recording studio, and so you basically gleaned your knowledge of production and engineering, or the refining of production and engineering, by sneaking into the audio engineering section of the college. Is that correct? And just sort of learning from people and just getting the basics of that down. Is that how that worked?
Yeah, definitely. I used to look over the courses that my friend was taking at the time. So I basically went through the courses without actually getting a certification for it.
Oh, wow. So that's how you do it. Nicely done. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to pay. It was a for-profit school, so I definitely did not want to pay for a second diploma from
Fuck
there.
that shit. Fuck that shit. So at what point do you start to gel your artistic personality into be careful? When does it transfer from I'm making some beats, I'm doing some things, I'm experimenting a little bit, I'm learning about audio engineering, I'm learning about how to master other things. At what point does it become, I think I'm going to settle on this artistic moniker and this personality, and this is going to be me now? When does that happen?
So initially, Be Careful was just my producer name for a while, because I used to sell hip-hop instrumentals for the people around my area, and I did that for a couple of years. And one day my studio got broken into and most of my gear got stolen.
Oh no. Oh, I'm
We
so
hate to hear
sorry.
it.
It's no problem.
I
And
think
was
every
going
good
through,
person's been robbed at least
a
once.
very rough breakup. the
Everybody's been
same
robbed
week.
at least. Every musician has been robbed at least once. I feel like I don't
Yeah.
know. It's happened to me
It's-
before. I feel like every musician who has a lot of gear gets robbed at least one time.
Yeah, absolutely. Every single musician I've talked to has been
Yeah,
through a rough
dude.
patch like that.
Yeah.
So
that's
I
terrible.
was going through a horrible breakup with someone that I was with for 4 years at the time.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Lost. It's no problem at all. Luckily I was able to get out of it, but I basically lost my full-time job and my partner at the same time.
Ooh, and then
And
you got
I
broken
was-
into?
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
I was
God.
about to quit music completely,
Well,
and
now I know why you're so patient.
yeah, I decided to kind of try to do it for myself for a while, and of course the pandemic came through. After I was able to recover most of my gear, the pandemic hits and I'm not able to survive off of the studio
no.
anymore because no one's going to studios. So
course.
I completely close it down. I get a retail job again, and that's kind of where I've been for a while. But during the pandemic, I was kind of in a really negative headspace, and I wanted to make an album for myself to kind of just get the motivation to get up and shower and take care of myself every day. So that's what my first album was.
Oh,
Be
really?
Careful. Yeah, Anamoya Garden was kind of an album
It's a great album too, by the way.
specifically just for me to find some type of motivation to get out of bed, even
That's-
though I didn't really feel like it those days.
Oh, that's really interesting. I didn't know that that's where that album came from because I've listened to that album before. And it does feel like that when you listen to that album, there is some sort of like process of catharsis that's going on. It feels like somebody who's just like, I am going to get myself into the correct headspace. Like I'm going through something right now, but it's going to pass. It
Yeah,
feels like
yeah.
that on that album.
And it was the first time I made music in a way where it was mostly just for myself.
Self-appreciation,
I wasn't-
just as a little aside, self-appreciation is like a phenomenal song, and I listen to it pretty
Thank
frequently
you
off
so
that album.
much.
Just I wanted to
Thank
put
you.
that out there.
Yeah, I love
Skilly
that song as
fangirling.
well. That was one
It's
of
a
my
really good
favorite
one.
songs. Something
And it's
about
so
that
funny
album
that
just
now
really
I kind of
sticks
know
to
a little
me.
bit. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm like self-appreciation. It's so funny that I know a little bit more about the backstory on that album, and now I'm like, oh, well, look at the name of that track. Look at all the names of these tracks. Probably actually interesting.
Thanks for the donation, Drugi.
But anyway, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, you're perfectly fine. That album really helped me out because I never viewed myself as an artist until that album. I always viewed myself as a producer or a sound engineer, someone that's behind the scenes in everything that I do. I never tried to get the spotlight for anything. With a lot of the major, I was throwing shows out here or participating in some shows as well, and I never did it for myself. I always did it for the artists that I was working with. So kind of getting out of that mindset where I'm just considered someone in the background to coming out with a whole album just for myself and having
Yeah.
people listen to it and getting a good reception out of it was huge for me, and it really brought back so much motivation.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Interesting.
It's always great
Can I
to hear
ask-
like overwhelmingly positive feedback.
Now let me ask you, how did you find this little world that we're in right now? How did you get in here? How did you figure it out? How did you come on in and say, you know what, this feels like me?
It's weird because I've been listening to vaporwave since I think about 2012, and I just
Yeah.
never participated in it, never made any vaporwave. I didn't really know about the community at all. During the pandemic, I decided to be more active online, and I found a lot of people in this community, and it just
Yeah,
kind
that's when I started kind of finding out about you. It was around that time as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of struck me as something incredibly different because coming from like a hip hop and R&B background, it tends to be much more. I don't even know how to describe it. A lot of people want to be they want people to support them, but they don't necessarily give that support out themselves. And
Yeah, it's very
Coming
much like
into a-
follow for follow.
exactly, yeah. And coming into a community where it seems like anybody will support you and just give a chance is just incredible. I've
Like,
never
oh,
seen
it's a new
anything
guy.
like that.
Let me hear your shit. Put me on.
Yeah,
It's
it
rare.
seems like a lot of the communities that I worked with in the past, not just hip hop, but also like punk communities, it's weird because I just had negative experiences where it seems like everybody was kind of thinking about themselves and how they can kind of push their name further than anyone else instead of really building the community that can help push each other to where they need to be. It just felt so comforting finding something that's almost a complete opposite of that.
Yeah. Oh, so that's interesting. So you've been listening to vaporwave and the artists associated with the with that world for a while, but you never were aware of the community that it was like.
Yeah, not at
Interesting.
all.
What
If
is
you,
what is an I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I have a vapor related question after you answer.
It's all good. If you go back into my Instagram, I think one of the first things that I posted was back in like 2014, and it was a cover art for a Skeleton album. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, Skeleton's
Vaporwave-
great. One of my favorites.
Vaporwave has always been
Very
huge
seminal.
for me, but I never knew that there was such a strong community behind it, and I'm just so happy that I discovered it.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about some of the other scenes in the way that they are exactly like you described. I found that myself as well. And the other thing that kind of bothered me about a lot of other scenes was the well, there's just not a lot of room for creativity in some of them. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of room for deviating too far from the specified formula of how to do it. You know what I mean? And one of the things I liked about vaporwave was, yes, there is a formula for doing this in a traditional sense, but it's this whole world is so sprawling and strange that they're just people get into vaporwave because they enjoy breaking rules. So
Yeah, it's
like
more of
it
a
should come as
guideline.
it
not so
should
much
come
a
as
law.
vaporwave is. It's like, well, what is the most traditional form of it? It's obviously echo jam is slowing things down, reverbing it. That is basically breaking that in itself is breaking the rules of how to make a
Absolutely.
song. Is breaking the rules of how you should do things. And like it's you know, and so it should come as no surprise to people that those who get involved in vaporwave are going to break the initial rules of how it should be as
Experimentation
well.
is at its very
You gotta be
core.
fucking kidding me. Of course, this is like it's an entire community made up of people who are here because they listen to a lot of things, are inspired by a lot of different experimental and cult artists. You know, they find a community here, and they're already rule breakers. Like
Right.
like vaporwave is built on breaking rules. So of fucking course, people are gonna break the rules of how vaporwave should sound. Like literally within a year of the traditional production ideas.
We love some
And
experimentation.
that's what I like
in the
about it.
scene.
Well, that's what I like about it is how much there's so much room for try and do it this way, try and do this way. What else can we learn from each other? But let's just keep it here within the family, and let's continue to control it and allow it to sprawl out in every possible direction and absorb so many different ways of doing it. But it still retains the spirit, or it should at least always try and retain the spirit of the community. And doing things ourselves and creating our own realm. But anyway, continue. You had a question, Isaac? about
Yeah, I
Vapor?
want to know what is an act that you like a lot that you can guarantee that we've never heard of.
That is hard. Do you guys know Captain Murphy?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
of course, man. Absolutely. We love Captain Murphy. It's Flying Lotus.
Yeah, Flying Lotus is absolutely
It's Flying
insane.
Lotus. I love Captain
Super
Murphy.
seminal.
Also, enjoy the fucking like C-Lab 2020. Is that? Yeah, reference with
Yeah,
Captain Murphy. Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of what else. DJ Boring is a huge.
DJ Boring is
influence on me
fucking
these days.
fire.
Fucking phenomenal.
Love DJ Boring.
There's
So
DJ
sorry.
Pool Boy.
DJ Cool Boy,
Not
Cool
familiar.
Pool Boy, like swimming in a
Yeah.
pool. I like Cool Boy better.
No, I like Pool Boy. Pool Boy's fun. I'm not familiar with that, but I will definitely be checking it out.
I
Yeah,
love
and
that
then,
era, like 2017 era of just like what's the most dumbass name you can come up with and put it after DJ. And you're a lo-fi house producer now.
Yeah. A huge influence for me, and I feel like one of my albums was basically just a huge reference to this artist was Pearl White. He's actually local
Pearl
to my
White.
area.
Earl White. Okay.
He's a wave artist that produced
love
for
wave.
a
Wave
few
music.
Love
big
wave.
people. Like
We stand Wave.
I think
Stan
yeah,
Wave.
is Wave is seriously one of my biggest influences in general. But this guy, he's made some really ambient sounding stuff with some of the hardest drums I've heard in my life. I think he produced for Bones. His name is Pearl White.
Pearl White. I got to check this guy out.
Yeah, his SoundCloud is just full of gems, absolute gems.
Saturn Fu wants to know if you know who Mr. C is. Is this a joke question, Saturn Fu? Okay. They also want to know what you think about the Roblox environment.
You know, I feel like the Roblox economy is going to burst soon. There's a huge
bubble, isn't it?
Yeah. There's some hats that are selling for like I think $700,000.
What?
Bruh.
Yeah, no, kids need to get away from that game. It's becoming insane.
Roblox Wave.
I'm just looking at the stock market right now.
How many hours per day do you spend listening to music? Be careful.
You know, it's kind of sad that maybe just an hour or two recently. I used to try to do it every single hour possible.
I mean, you're doing it every single day. That's a lot. That's some crate digging right there.
That's a lot, yeah.
I listen to about an hour of new music every day. I mean...
Yeah, whenever I'm driving, I've been trying to just put on new Bandcamp recommendations or just put on playlists with artists I don't know of. It's been a struggle trying to not fall into the same songs that I want to listen to every day, though. Like, I feel like I've been on a big Pink Panthers kick, and nice. I need to stop.
She is quite respected.
Yeah, I'm really happy that a lot of like jungle and UK garage is starting to pop up in different sections of music, because that's really fun.
Breakbeats are coming back in a huge way for sure.
That's true, absolutely. So after you put out that first album, then did you feel like a sense of validation? Did you feel like, wow, you know what? I really like where this is going. I think I'm going to continue this, and I'm going to continue making these connections and communicate with people, and really start implementing, putting myself into the community, really putting myself out there. Did that change your attitude? Did that change the way you were feeling a lot?
It gave me a lot of motivation, but it didn't really change the trajectory of what I wanted to do afterwards, because as soon as I finished that first album, before I put it out, I decided to make it a part of a 4-album series, because I've always been really big into nature, and I wanted to do something with the 4 classical elements, which is...
That all makes sense now. I didn't realize all that, but that makes a lot of sense now. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So right after...
I didn't know that was part of a series.
Wait, what are the 4 classical elements?
So you have earth, water, fire, and air.
Okay, perfect.
So your air would be dissipated skies, right? And then your fire is going to be reignited ember, and the water is and liminal cove. Okay, that's interesting. Damn. I don't know how I didn't realize that until you just said it, but perfect sense now.
Yeah, and I really wanted fire to play a huge importance in all of it, even though it's probably the least well received. I thought it was really interesting being able to release it as an EP initially after Anemoia Garden, and then have it become a full album before the last album came out, which was Dissipated Skies. It was really important to me, because I wanted to kind of highlight how a lot of my creation comes from destruction, and that's what fire does. It creates by destroying. I go back into a lot of my songs that I did when I was much younger, and that when I didn't really have a lot of the skills and techniques that I had, and resampled them and kind of restructured them and destroyed them in a way that brought the songs that you hear on that album. And that's kind of what I did with the whole series.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. I was not familiar with all this lore. This is very interesting stuff. Oh, so you had already had it in your mind that it was going to be a 4-album series. And it's interesting the way you talk about the fire being the important, because that's exactly what I was thinking when you said fire creates by destroying. And the first thing I thought was, well, didn't he earlier in the interview just say, yeah, a lot of the music he's using it's broken down versions of just experiments that, musical experimentation he'd done in the past. So okay, well now that this is completed, so you finished the four cycle, the cycle of four. Do you know what you want to do next, or is
I
that
don't think
too
I'm gonna
much?
be putting any solo albums anytime soon. I think I'm gonna be doing a lot of collabs, a lot of features. I am working on a project with Min Curry, but I don't have any plans to do any more solo albums anytime soon.
I like that. I like that. I like the idea of like I think I've said what I need to say for now, and if I feel that there is something else I need to say, I will do it when the time is correct. That's how I feel most of the time.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna try to explore a lot of where I'm gonna go in the future with my solo career through the live scene. I'm gonna start kind of experimenting with new songs and different venues and seeing what kind of gets different reactions out of it and see where I can lead my path through that because I already did these four albums for myself and now I kind of want to experiment with the relationship between me, my music, and other people now instead of just making it about myself and what I wanted to kind of guide through at first.
It's a very personal journey that your music takes. You know what I mean? And it's funny that all the artistic, this is very, it's so funny that you hesitate to call yourself an artist when everything you're discussing right now is basically, the artistic, is basically what an artist would say. You are like, it's just like, the way that you're able to explain the trajectory of why you're doing the things, what they mean to you, and how they connect to each other, and where you're going next is all the decisions that you make as an artist. You know what I mean? You're like, this was made for me. It describes the four elements, and it is about my creation of myself, my rebirth, sort of my breaking down of old things and putting them into something new, creating something new. I've done this for myself, and now the next aspect of my artistic journey is going to be not just the interaction with myself, but the interaction with the audience, the live environment. You know what I mean? Like, well, it's just funny because like what you're describing is this is why we find art interesting, is the motivation behind it. A lot of why we find artists interesting and what they make interesting is because of who they are and why they do things and what they're trying to say with why they do something. Do you know what I mean? So the fact is, it's not like you're just there's like this path of like, you're not just going out into doing live shows because it's sick. It is sick. It's awesome. But it's also like, well, it's part of my personal journey of where I'm going to go next with my art and what it's going to develop in me next. And that's why we find artists fascinating, is because of like what they're telling us with what they do. You know what I mean? And so I just think it's so funny that you're like, oh, I'm not really an artist. I'm like, oh, yeah, you are. What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, my
Thank
God.
you.
Yeah, you're so an artist. Like more so than many people who might be extremely skilled, really, really elaborately skilled in production. Like that's like there's a difference between somebody who's just very advanced with their skills and somebody who's really like contemplating deeply about what they're doing and why they're doing it. You know what I mean? And what it means to them to do it. That's kind of where I don't know.
Yeah, no,
That's my
thank you.
favorite kind of art. You know what I mean?
I
My
feel
favorite kind of
like
artists.
it's hard for me to come out initially as an artist, not only because of my past where I always saw myself as a background person, but also I I always want to put my community first over what I'm doing. I
Yes.
love everything that I'm doing and I love the way I'm able to promote it and the attention that I can get. I cannot state how insane it's been just being able to see a such a great reception to something that I did for myself, but like I've always wanted to do what I can for my community more than just promoting myself as an artist. I feel like
Of course.
I can be much bigger than just someone that's releasing music. I want to be able to be someone who can give other people that platform. Even if I don't necessarily have a huge platform now, I want to make sure that anybody that has the willingness to put out a statement or put out a art piece that they believe represents what they are saying or what they want to portray to the world, I want to be able to make sure that they get attention because I've been able to get the attention that I wanted for something, even if it wasn't a crazy amount of attention. I'm still incredibly appreciative, and I'm so happy that I've been able to do everything I can in this community. I think everyone deserves the same opportunities. I love making little video ads and bumps and stuff. I know.
I love doing that too.
It's just so fun.
I love doing that too. I do it on Instagram like every day. I'm like, how can I pair together some like little like gifts together to promote something I might be doing?
Apparently I was muted. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for people that are listening. I asked to be careful how they motivate people to engage with the community and with art.
I also feel like a huge motivator is also just showing that you're able to support and willing to support what someone else is doing as well. If you go out and support
absolutely.
someone, there's a huge chance that they're going to check you out, because not a lot of people are so forward with their support. Well, in this community there are a lot of people, but typically if you have someone that goes out of their way to tweet about one of your albums or post it on their story or even write a review on Bandcamp, then you're going to kind of want to check that person out, because it's not something that's incredibly common.
No, yeah. Because it takes like energy to do that. You know what I mean?
That's so strange to me, because when I hear art that moves me, I just want everyone to hear it or see it. Like, I just become a blabbermouth when it comes to the stuff that I see that I think is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way too. I think that all three of us are pretty similar in what's being described right now, and what we do and why we do it.
People are really resonating with what you just said about Bandcamp reviews. Is that really like a big thing? Like, that
huge.
goes a long way. Damn, I got to start writing those.
I love it. I love it when people write something about me. It's the kindest thing in the world.
I used to write a blog, but I didn't know that Bandcamp reviews were like huge.
Dude, yeah, I feel like I constantly go back to reread the Bandcamp reviews that I've had.
I do too.
Well, shit.
It feels great.
I
why
go there.
Why do you think some acts blow up or get popular and some others don't?
Hard question.
Yeah, that's an incredibly hard question. I think it's always a mixture of things. There's timing, there's connections.
True.
And of course, the actual content as well. I'm not going to sit here and say that anybody can blow up with any type of content, but I think the marketing side and just getting the word out is huge compared to everything else. And I kind of hate the fact that it's like that, because there's a lot of people that are insanely talented, but just don't either have the skills or time to promote it the way they should.
Some people also are sometimes making music that people might like this several years later. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Or they're not making the thing that people are really into at this moment. You know what I mean? Or they're not. They don't have
money moves in silence.
There's just that's the thing too, right? Or some people are making really great stuff, but it's not exactly the first thing people want to hear at the moment. You know what I mean? Or sometimes people make really good stuff, but it's the sort of thing that people only really want to hear one time. I don't know. It's very interesting the way that works and how it works. And I think it is a matter of timing too, and a matter of are you making the thing that people want to hear right now? Are you making it at the right time? Does it feel sincere?
Right, not just a bandwagon.
Does it got good cover art? Is it the right thing? You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm never quite sure. It's hard, but some people are. I'm not sure. What do you think, Isaac? Do you have an answer?
I want to know when Be Careful's going to make a hyper pop album.
I'm actually considering putting vocals in my next few albums. I've done vocals in the past.
I was joking, but I seriously think that would be really, really cool to see. Like you, somebody even said it in the chat that they expect within the next few years to see some of these vaporwave zero people producing for people that are professional vocalists.
I feel like a lot of my personal music recently has been very like hard, almost violent. There's a new wave of rage beats going through hip hop that inspire me a lot, where it's
rage
beats that are just like in your face,
like drill music,
metal.
like really violent.
I think
it's weird because you have a lot of hip hop trap influenced drums, but with like double kicks like you hear in a lot of metal.
Oh, I hear a lot of that in the deconstructed
distorted
club scene, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. There's
like very Garden of Delete-esque.
Yeah, even huge artists like Yeet and Playboy Cardi, they came out with albums that are just like beats that are very in your face, and that's been really, really inspiring to me. I've actually been trying to find a way to incorporate a lot of like what you see in ambient metal into some
Ambient metal.
wave influence and rage influence beats like that. So
that's interesting.
I've got
that's
some
gonna-
cool shit that I could send your way at some point that I think you'd really
I would
like.
love that, dude. I've loved everything you've sent me so far.
It sounds
so feel
kind of
free to
like
send me anything.
the stuff that like Drain Gang is doing, like the like bladey type stuff, but also with the metal and possibly even like new metal influence.
Yeah, so I'm not big into Drain Gang, but their producers Young Good and White Armor are heavily
Young Good is
inspired by-
fire. I actually sent Chris a
Yeah.
Young Good track a couple weeks ago, and he was even in agreement with me.
Yeah,
Dude, yeah, they're inspired by
that
like
was great.
earlier Clams Casino, and Clams Casino to me is probably the biggest influence, easily the biggest.
Oh, yeah.
influence.
Way ahead
You
of
don't
his
need to
time.
talk to me about Clams Casino. I fucking love Clams Casino. Just one of my all-time favorites. Absolutely.
That you posted a track from that EP that came out on Triangle Records, the like kind of jungle, and I don't mean jungle as in the genre of music, but like it was
Oh yeah.
jungle themed, and that's my favorite thing he's made.
Yeah, I could listen to Young Good and Clams Casino all day. Absolutely. I love that type of music where you have really hard-hitting drums sometimes, but it's some of the most ethereal melodies that you'll ever hear.
Oh, gotta check out Eric
absolutely.
Dingus.
That's, I did check that out eventually, and it was really great, Isaac, by the way.
No, I knew you would like it.
I really liked it a lot. So you listen to a lot of experimental hip-hop sounds, and is that something that you've been really getting into lately, or are you always trying to find some different types of hip-hop music, that different production styles? Does that inspire you?
I feel like I'm constantly trying to find any genre to inspire me. It feels weird trying to, like, as a lo-fi house artist, I kind of rarely listen to lo-fi house because I don't think I would really sound creative if I constantly listen to lo-fi house. I'd rather pull most of my inspiration from something that sounds completely different.
I agree with that too.
I respect that.
I do the
because
same
I don't
thing.
understand it, so I respect it a lot.
No, I feel the same way. I'm like, well, okay, what are people listening to? I should try and find something else and something that people aren't listening to as much, and that might give me some new ideas.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
this thing I draw from. Yeah.
I can't say that like I try to ignore the fundamentals because I always try to include the fundamentals, but trying to pull inspiration from like one of my favorite albums recently has been I forgot what it's called, but it's by Black Mountain Transmitter, and it's like it has influences of dungeon synth. It's like a ambient metal similar to like Sun, where
That
you
sounds
have
pretty
a lot
wild.
of. Yeah, I can link it later.
Yeah,
because
please do.
It's such a beautiful album, but trying to find out how to blend something ambient and melodically beautiful with something that's so harsh and in your face that it almost sounds dissonant. It has been my biggest influence recently, and I haven't found the balance yet, but that's definitely going to be something that I keep in mind with whatever I produce now.
Would you say that that's your favorite kind of music? Or do you want to describe your favorite kind of music for us real quick?
I like anything that sounds ethereal, but
Gotcha.
doesn't necessarily remain
Ethereal.
very static. I think dynamic music is much better where you have a lot of changes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the main thing that tends to trigger musical frisson is when you hear something that you weren't necessarily expecting in a song. And I feel like I chase those moments
And it just
when
like
I'm listening to
assaults
music.
you with like bliss or something.
Exactly, yeah. Like where it can be unexpected in a very ethereal and melodic way, or it can be unexpected in an abrasive way. But that is something that's really important to me in music. I don't necessarily do it in my own music, and I want to incorporate it into my music. But whenever I'm listening to something, I want to find that moment where you really feel a switch in either the mood or just the overall
Like a change
sound
in
of the
energy.
song. Yeah, exactly.
I feel that.
Interesting. I like the way that you put all that.
Dynamic
So-
and ethereal.
Do we have any more questions for Be Careful right now? Because it's actually getting kind of late.
It is. I would like to know the least favorite music of yours.
Polka? I don't know. I've never really experienced. I've never
love
listened
for
to polka.
German cultural music. Damn.
I guess that.
Oh, Videodrome TV. Opinions on barber beats.
I feel like this is a hot take, but I'd rather just listen to the original smooth jazz track.
I'm not super into it, but like maybe I just haven't heard the right tracks yet. I don't know.
You know, the way I see barber beats artists is more of like a curator or like a DJ,
or like a graphic artist,
waterfront dining of
really good
exactly.
graphic artists as well. I always every time Barbie's like, oh, there's a phenomenal graphic artist, and I feel like sometimes they come in initially as that's the big selling point is the very phenomenal visual artists, and I feel like then they like, and that's what kind of music would match this. And then, you know, that's
their graphic art is fucking phenomenal. And I listen to the album and I'm like,
I still like it.
I just need someone to send me the right Barber Beats tracks.
Oh, I still like Barber Beats, but I like most things.
Leo says, do you think Feral is a soup?
Cereal is a type of soup, yes.
Oh, Feral. It's cereal. They put Feral cereal. Well, is a Twinkie a sandwich? I mean...
don't want to say that I do like a lot of Barber Beats songs, but it's just something that I don't seek out because it does seem it's ironic to talk about it in the vaporwave scene that it seems very reliant on aesthetics, but
I know,
that's
right?
kind of what it feels like. It just feels like a DJ that slowed down and barely did anything to a few smooth jazz songs.
Bruh.
But I love it. I love it. I listen to a lot of it.
There are a lot of things that I feel like the vibe of it is just lost on me. Like you mentioned dungeon synth, right? Like I love fantasy music. I love high fantasy. I love synth work, but I just cannot get into dungeon synth. Maybe I've just not heard the right dungeon synth tracks yet.
Any new musical genres you guys are listening to?
Right? Chris, you know what dungeon synth is, right?
Of course, yes.
Okay, good.
But I think it's gonna be much darker, and then it's
like a synthetic flute that you can only hear when you're in an oubliette.
It's fun. I like it. It's the coolest name for a genre, and
Blashy makes dungeon synth. Wow.
Yeah, so I don't listen to a lot of dungeon synth myself, but that album by Black Mountain Transmitter that I was talking about, I think it's called Black Goat.
Black Goat.
It starts with like kind of an organ and a synth at some point that just sounds so sinister and cool. One of the major things that inspires me as well is scores from horror films. I absolutely love
those. Absolutely, dude. That's a great anything from like Dario Argento, right? And Goblin. Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, I was so on the train from Rhode Island to Philly, we watched Beyond the Black Rainbow.
Oh yeah, man.
You started talking about film.
Beyond the Black Rainbow, and of course, what's it called? The Nicolas Cage one, also directed.
Mandy.
Mandy, that's it. Yeah, same director. Phenomenal work. Love that guy. Love that guy's films. Beyond the Black Rainbow. Yeah, that's a great film.
Yeah,
great soundtrack. Great soundtrack. Yeah.
Saturn Fu wants to know what your favorite MJ song is.
Oh yeah.
Off the Wall.
It's a good choice.
Deep cut.
Good choice.
Or They Don't Really Care About Us. That song is amazing too. The percussion is insane.
So you've spoken a lot about like what moves you within a song, right? What gets your attention and what you look for. What is something that would just ruin a song completely for you? Besides polka.
I don't know why I hated on polka. I want to apologize to any.
I'm gonna apologize to polka.
But I don't know. I don't think there's anything that immediately turns me off from a song. I can't think of anything that would just immediately make me think like, oh, this song was getting good until this happened.
If you are like crate digging, will you listen to an entire song even if there's something in it that's just like, that's it for me? Will you hear it all the way out just to see if maybe it redeems itself?
No, there's a lot of times I skip songs
Will you?
if they start off.
I want to know
pretty
Chris's
badly.
answer to that too. Like, if you get like halfway through a song, but it like sucks, will you like hear it all out to see if it redeems itself?
No, but I'll probably scroll around in it a lot to see
You'll,
if there's
like,
a part
scrub
that I
through
think
it?
is interesting. There's like this
Okay.
thing that they do a lot in modern music these days where they take like a vocal and it's just like a "Wah," and they like add some sort of like vocal effect over top of it in like an EDM song. Like then they just like it's just like a one
Yeah,
shot,
yeah, they do that a lot.
and then it's like
It's usually like pitched up.
and they add like a
and,
little
effects.
vocal. They add like a little like sort of like flangey effect over top of it, and like they do it in all these songs. And I'm like, stop fucking doing it.
Progressive house is a lot of fun, but it's super predictable. Like the Anjuna Deep type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
You know what you're talking about. Other questions for Be Careful.
Yeah, run up those questions, chat. We got 25 more minutes with this phenomenal human being. Are you much of a fan of like classifying music by genre? Do you have a favorite genre you can shout out, or like a least favorite genre?
Yeah, I think genres are really important, and it's interesting seeing people's relationships as artists with genres, because a lot of people don't necessarily like being boxed into a genre, but at the same time, when you want to kind of grow your audience, you want people to be able to categorize what you're doing so that they can recommend you if like a certain person likes
Right.
some other artist, a lot of the genres that I'm listening to right now are like, I love a lot of jungle inspired stuff.
Nice.
I'm trying to think of what else. Main Curry just has me on a lot of lo-fi stuff recently, because I've been listening to holographic like 24/7.
Does Mean Curry
Yeah.
have like a Spotify playlist you can plug, or they just send you recommendations?
Yeah, he's just constantly sending me recommendations, and
Damn.
it's so great just kind of going down a rabbit hole of whatever he sends me. And
Sick.
a lot of the times it's artists that I love, like I think we talked about Rat-a-tat recently. I
Oh, wow.
absolutely love them, and it's been so long
been a
since
minute.
I've listened to them.
I saw them live before a long time
Oh, are you
ago.
serious? That's
Yeah.
some
That's so
late
sick.
2000s nostalgia right there. Cherry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wildcat
noise.
or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
man.
stuff like the Avalanches.
Oh man,
Oh, nice.
We're always talking about Boards of Canada.
yeah.
Like,
Oh yes. There's nary a vaporwave
Where would
artist
vaporwave
alive
be
that isn't
without them?
talking about Boards of Canada at some point.
exactly.
Somewhere at any time and any day, there's a vaporwave artist discussing Boards of Canada every minute of every day. Somebody is in the scene.
I discovered Boards of Canada like probably the dumbest way possible. There
Go
was
on.
TikTok.
there was a YouTube series called
No disrespect
Salad
intended.
Fingers.
Salad
yeah.
fingers, of course. Yeah,
Everybody's seen Salad
Beware
Fingers.
the friendly, beware the friendly stranger. I think is
Yeah.
like the song they play in the background of the Salad Fingers. You're not the only one who probably discovered it that way.
Yeah.
Discovered it that way, but like, yeah, isn't it like beware of the friendly stranger? So I can't remember the name of the exact track, but I know that's the one they play in the background of Salad Fingers. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone showed it to me when I was very young, and it scared the shit out of me for some reason.
Yeah, it's
I was
pretty
like
weird.
12
Oh
years
no,
old.
not for some reason. Salad Fingers is designed to scare the shit out of you. That is not for some reason. That's specifically designed for that, sir.
And that was like one of the first times I've noticed how powerful sound and audio can be for
True.
triggering emotions. Like
Very
that's why
interesting.
I mean, I would characterize that track as being ethereal. Very much
It's-
so.
yeah,
Creepy
absolutely.
track, yeah.
Creepy as
Haunted. I describe it as being haunted.
well. Hauntology for sure.
Hauntology. Yeah.
We got some great questions actually in the chat now. Thanks, you guys. 3 like different people have brought up wanting to know what your thoughts are on vapor fashion.
I feel like I have no place to be talking about fashion. I do not have a great fashion.
I
sense,
mean,
to
you
be
know,
completely
that's a
honest.
fucking lie. You always rock the V-necks. You've got the
Oh
tattoos.
damn, that's a fucking lie, is what Isaac just says. Coming out. Yeah, love your tattoos, by the way. Always a
Yeah.
pleasure when I have more friends in the vaporwave world who have several tattoos.
Is
And you
that
and
are
Ming
those
Perry have a bunch.
hieroglyphics?
Yeah. It's a huge chest piece dedicated to the goddess Bestet. Bestet is the goddess of like music, joy, and love.
Oh
And,
wow.
Okay.
The
Love it.
hieroglyphics are a transcript that basically say that anything that's worth it in life requires some type of sacrifice, and I feel like that kind of makes a lot of sense when talking about joy and music and love, because if you genuinely love something, you're going to have to sacrifice things to make it work out. Whenever you're really passionate about something, there's going to be aspects of your life that might take a hit because of that passion that you have for it.
Oh, man. You are a young guy with a lot of wisdom.
I know, like, damn.
Thank you. I feel like I'm just talking out of my ass half of the time.
You're doing a good job. Excellent work.
Drugi has a really good question. What are current influences from the web do you feel are influencing production?
That is a really good question.
I think they're asking what is influencing your production.
I feel like it's the community that I constantly work with. I know that I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but everybody that's around me constantly influences me. I feel like I'm really glad to be in a community full of people that I feel like are more talented than me, because that gives me the drive to try to get on their level.
Yeah. I think I think everyone is like standing around here thinking that they are not as talented as the person next to them. I think it's a shared experience with everybody who makes music, or in general. But here, too, for sure.
Duchess Deuce says, "Question for Be Careful. You fuck with that guy Quiz?"
Is this Quiz talking right now?
Probably.
I assume.
I'm about to kick Quiz out of the Discord.
Yo,
server.
I am going to steal Quiz's shoes. That
Love
next
Quiz.
time
Quiz
always looks so cool. Can't wait to meet them.
Quiz is like one of the coolest dudes. Shout out Quiz.
True.
He is a firecracker.
If anybody needs to be asked about fashion, it's probably Quiz.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
no shit. Every photo I ever see them, they always look so cold. So you've performed in and planned a lot of live shows. What are some of your favorite live shows that you've attended?
Ooh, that is a good question. This is definitely a hot take, but the best show I've ever seen was the Yeezus show.
The what now?
The Yeezus show?
Yeezus.
Okay.
So Yeezus,
I heard
That's a pretty hot one.
Oh, I heard that was a really good tour.
Yeah, it was a really interesting album because he was kind of breaking down how a lot of the segregation and slavery affected not only the lives of black people in America, but also the relationships that they have within themselves and with other people. And he chose to tell that story through samples. And whenever he went on tour for that album, he ended up making I think it was 3 separate stages for it. It was one mountain that cracked in halfway through the show that had a lot of performers on it. There was one triangle that turned into a separate mountain, and one platform in between them that kind of demonstrated a link in between those two worlds that he was going back and forth between. And it was divided in 4 acts where he had 4 different outfits and even masks that kind of represented what type of it was really similar to the Divine Comedy, where these acts kind of showed his rise, his fall, and the inner conflict and the external conflict that he had going through all of the story that he was trying to prepare. And it was really inspiring to see.
I mean, shit, that is pretty deep. Can't deny that.
Other than that, I saw Blank Banshee in
Hell yeah.
in DC.
Yeah,
I think I was back in like 2016.
Was it like 2017?
It was.
Yeah,
It was
I saw
probably
him doing that
2017 or
too.
2018 because I saw him as well in Philadelphia.
Was
Yeah,
it
that-
the one
that
where
was-
afterwards they had the NPC with like the blood all over it?
Yep, that was it.
Nice.
And I absolutely love the way Blank Banshee did those sets. It flowed so seamlessly.
It was really good.
I mean,
Yeah,
did
it
y'all
was.
see how fast man's hands were moving on that shit?
It's
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
Yeah,
Like, it was
absolutely
unreal how
insane.
many like samples were being triggered and the speed at which they were triggering them, like unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a good show, and Be Careful was saying it flowed really nicely, and it kept my attention and kept me moving the whole time too. I was like, oh, you know what? I've been waiting to see what this would be like
Yeah.
live for a long time, and I'm like, okay, wow.
It was
all
the
right,
most
fair
Blank
enough,
Banshee
sir,
thing
fair
ever,
enough.
too. Like, they made you
Fair
wait
enough.
for like an hour with like an hour-long countdown, and then I don't think they had any opener. It was just them, And then they went
Yep.
hard as fuck for like an hour and a half with great visuals. Like, it's just a
Gotta go back
phenomenal
and find
experience,
my-
and then that was it.
I gotta go back and find my video of that performance. I probably have to go back
gotta
to my
find
Insta
mine, too.
Twitter several years ago now, though.
Those are some great picks, man. I have not seen Yeezus. Sorry, Yeezy is the shoe. Yeezus is the artist. I've not seen him live. He's a pretty controversial character, so naming him on Hot Takes is pretty apropos.
So what other questions we have? Because we're running out of time, and we gotta
We
go
are running
right
out of time. We probably got a couple more before we're gonna go into our shout out sesh, you guys. So run them up for Be Careful before you never get to ask them another question ever again.
Yeah, I'm disappearing after this. I'm gone.
Oh, Chaser Wave says, what sets are you most excited for at ElectroniCON?
Oh yeah, we can talk about that.
I've been wanting to watch Dan Mason live for so long.
Me
so
too.
I'm really happy about that.
Great friend of the show.
Dan Mason,
Lux
previous
Elite.
guest on the show. Lux
Oh,
Elite,
I can't
previous
wait to
guest
see
on the
Lux
show.
perform.
There's so many.
Lux
people.
is going to be amazing.
It's going to be
gonna-
really special, y'all. I'm here to tell you.
Oh, I can't wait. Cannot wait to see Lux.
There's so many great people in the lineup. Actually, it's hard to say every single person. Uniwa, I know Uniwa.
Oh, Uni is the shit.
Uniwa,
Another great friend of the show.
Another great friend, previous guest on the show. Yes. There's like
Yeah.
everybody.
I know. I owe so many Hot Take stickers to people. If you come up to me and you see me at the show, you better be prepared with your best hot take.
Dan, I see Chase Wave, Dan, Lux, and Vapor are so excited.
Oh,
and all of them
Vapor tears
three
it down
previous
live.
guests on the show. Vapor was funny. I was DJing in New York a few weeks ago at the Yoitoki party, and Jeff came out to it, and he
That's
was.
amazing.
I brought him up on stage with me, and had a little B2B session with our dear friend Jeffrey Vapor that night, and it was super fun. So
I may or may not have drunkenly told them
That
how
was the
much
day
I
right
appreciate
before
and
I
respect
did-
them.
yeah, and that was
that
the day right
same
before
night.
the Circuit Zero show. Yeah.
To tie like both of the past questions together as well, I'm incredibly excited to see Nrail on
Giant Claw.
Sunday because
Oh.
Nrail
Yeah. Nrail is a
Nrail
lot
show
of fun.
in Chicago and DC might have been one of the best sets I've seen. Or sorry, in December in Chicago.
Did
That's
you see the question in
easily.
chat where they were
Skyline.
asking about
Another previous guest on the
favorite
show.
favorite moments
Giant
from Circuit
Claw,
Zero?
another previous. I'm just looking at this right now. Giant Claw, another previous guest.
I know
on
we've
the
had
show.
everybody. That's great.
Yeah,
I'm
FM
giving out
Skyline,
so many
another
hugs.
previous guest on the show.
Yeah, Nrail absolutely killed it in Chicago though.
Nrail
Like,
is so much fun, not just live, but like as a person.
Oh,
I
for
can't
sure.
wait to be reunited with my buddy.
I enjoy all the different personalities that people have in this little world, and they're all so different and so unique. I mean, I don't know if you can say that about most other, musical collective scenes, movements, whatever. That everybody has so many. There's so much personality. Like everybody is a character. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I feel
Nrail,
like
so
dropped.
different. It's so fun, and it's just interesting to talk to everybody.
I'm also like equally excited to be in the crowd with certain people as well. Like people like
Oh,
Saturn
shit,
Fu
yeah.
and Kelsey and Quiz. The
Oh,
energy that they bring to every show that they go to is just so important, and
Oh, I'm
it
excited
just
to
makes
meet
the experience so much more fun.
Saturn Foo's in the chat right now. I am
I-
excited to meet her because she has got a lot of personality, and I just can't wait to see these people in person.
I didn't realize how much of an OG Saturn Fu is. Like Saturn Fu hangs out with so many people from the old guard. Like, didn't realize
Yeah.
how well connected they were. Super impressive.
Yeah, no, Saturn Fu is goated. Saturn
And-
Fu is like one of my
sure.
favorite
goated.
people in this
I will
community.
second that as well.
And of course, obviously, I've been waiting to meet Quiz for a super long time.
Oh, that's true. I've already met Saturn. That's right. She was in Philly.
What
Yeah,
are-
that's true. That's right.
Before we roll into
Yeah, I
the
forgot
shout
about
out
that.
sesh, somebody
But,
asked in
yeah.
the chat what some of your favorite moments from the Circuit Zero tour were.
Man, it's being able to, like I said, I love culinary school, and I mean, you guys can tell I love to eat. Eating random shit in random cities with the boys. Like
I saw
Simple
your stories.
Syrup,
I was like,
Van
man, this
Gogh.
one can eat.
Yeah, I'm
good
so
taste.
glad that I was able to check out so many different restaurants with everybody. It's seriously a huge. I know that that's not related to music at all, but it was just such a great experience being able to kind of I don't know, like really dive deep into each other's personalities while just eating and just talking about.
Yeah, I really want to. I really want to do a meal with you in New York. I just trying to figure out my schedule. I would love to get like a bunch of people.
Are we trying to do like Ethiopian food?
Funny. We'll do that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I would say, Isaac, who are you excited to see at ElectroniCON? Because for me,
Cowgirl Clue. I'm just kidding. I am very excited to ride that club stage. I'm going to see Dan Mason. I'm going to see Lux. I'm going to see Equip. I'm going to go see Hotel Pools, FM Skyline, Picture Plane, Negi Jimmy.
You're literally. Oh man, I love
Vape Error, George Clanton.
Person. I just love that guy so much. He's such a wonderful person. So many reasons to go to this thing to support these people who have worked so hard and get to have a little bit of a platform. Ben, especially Hotel Pools. Man,
don't ever talk bad.
Charming motherfucker.
Don't ever talk bad about dogs because Ben loves their little Chiweenie. And I fucked up one time, and
I enjoyed that good-natured beef that was going on back and forth. I actually was talking to Ben. I was going to have him like jump onto hot takes if you guys didn't apologize in time.
Oh no,
I was messaging him and I was like, "Yo, let's get you let's get you on hot takes. Let's
get some unresolved
Isaac.
Beef on.
We almost had Hotel Pools confront you live on like the next episode of Hot Takes.
Oh wow, I just want everybody.
We were joking.
Friends.
It was joking, but it was really we were laughing about it. But I was gonna have Ben jump on and like kind of like roast you live if you guys didn't.
That's pretty adorable.
But you made up before that, so
I can't stand conflict.
I would say that even the most cynical of vaporwave people should go to ElectroniCON to see Giant Claw. I mean, what the fuck? Like, you cannot. That's
Keith
amazing.
Is a gem.
You get a chance to see. I mean, even the most like hardened, cynical person, cannot say anything about like the opportunity to see Giant Claw. I mean, that's fucking outstanding. I played with Keith before as Giant Claw back in like 2016 or 15.
I did not know that. That's very cool.
I did. Yeah, I did a show with Keith way back in the day in like 2015 in Philadelphia. Gotta see him live. You gotta see him live.
I want Keith to come perform here, and I think that it would be right at home, and they're not very far away. But for now, I'll have to settle for New York City.
Yes. I'm very much looking forward to ElectroniCON. I'm very much looking forward to seeing all my friends everywhere. And if you see me, I'm a pretty recognizable person. I'll be walking around with Wendy. Come say hi to us.
Oh, man, I can't wait to see you and Wendy again.
Yes, we'll have fun out.
It's been far too long.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and wrap up, fellas. Let's go into our shout-out portion. Be careful. You get to say whatever you want. Hot, lukewarm, cold. You can shout at anybody. Talk about anything you want.
I know I've said his name like 8 million times already, but Min Curry deserves a shout out first and foremost. I don't think I would be in the same position I am
Min
right
Curry's
now
cool
if
as
it
fuck.
wasn't for Min Curry, and he is a huge motivation for me. Like, that dude knows how to work. He's constantly doing shit, and it's so inspiring. Like, I feel like I get a message once a week of him exploring a new hobby or a new skill, and it's insane. Like, Min Curry deserves some of the most recognition in this whole scene. And I could say the same about Hydrovoid and all the guys from the Creamery. Shout out to the Cream team. When it comes to my upcoming work, like I said, I'm not really doing anything solo anytime soon, but I do have a remix compilation coming out soon.
Ooh, that's badass.
I'm
going to be on it.
I love remixes. Thank you. Be careful.
I'm going to be on it. I'm very, very honored to be on it. Who else is on? Can you talk
have good
about
taste.
Who else is on that? Are you allowed to do that or no?
I am 100% down to talk. Who
else is on the remix album?
Min Curry has a different alias that he's going to be going under in there. Hydrovoid is going to be on there. Nice. We have Vivi Volter on there.
Nice.
I'm trying to think of who else. Zero, the person that typically does my cover arts, has a remix on there as well.
Awesome.
I have Mission Indigo on there.
Oh,
nice. Love Mission Indigo.
Love Mission Indigo.
Super cool homie. Great taste in music.
Keep going. Who else?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I know Neckbomb is going to be on there.
Nice.
Soul Surfer 1999.
Oh, great.
Soul Surfer is wild
Soul
in
Surfer,
person.
1989.
Soul Surfer goes to Dad's Digital Arts Demo Space and goes, "Oh, you have a drum set? Can I set that up? I would really like to play breakbeat live on an actual drum set for my music." And then they fucking did it.
Yeah,
It was
Soul
unreal.
Surfer. Soul Surfer is seriously
Really
so
good taste
great.
in fashion too. Like I felt like a
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
a 3 or a 4 on the attractiveness scale standing next to Soul Surfer.
You know, I talked to Nrail about doing a remix, but I forgot to remind him. So I don't know if Nrail is going to be on there or not, but we'll see.
Me, I'll be on there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's like the biggest catch for this remix album.
Oh.
But
You too much.
speaking of people that have been on the show, Lunitas is doing the cover art for
God,
it.
Loonitas is so
Oh
cool.
man, amazing!
If
Lunita,
Loonitas doesn't come to
love that.
ElectroniCON, I'm going to Austin to kick their ass.
Oh,
Oh, Gamma
Oh,
Vapor, who is
Lunita.
in the chat right now, also did a remix for it.
Oh, Loonitas is here. Hello, Loonitas. You better be
wait,
there.
who else did it? Who else did the remake? What did you say?
Gamma Vapor.
Oh,
in the
I love
track right
Gamer
now.
Vapor. I love Gamer Vapor. I've actually made their albums one of the a recommendation before. I'm a big fan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
remember that.
Yeah, I
There's-
love Gamer Vapor.
A huge mixture of people. I'm trying to see if there's any way I can drop it with the label to kind of make all the money go towards some type of women's rights or abortion fund
Love it.
for it.
Good.
I'm probably not going to do physicals for it at all. I just want it to be digital.
Yeah,
Just-
sounds good.
Honestly, just want to get it out there soon.
Yeah,
Aside
man.
from that, of course, I'm going to start working on more live shows soon. I want to plan a tiny festival for December. I don't know if it's too
God.
late to start
I was
doing
wondering
that,
when you were going to
Crazy.
tease that.
but maybe I can do an all-day thing. Definitely not a 2-day
Wow.
thing, but I am going to see what type of money I need to make that happen. And
That's
if
awesome.
you guys know anybody that can help
Uh,
with that, and anybody who wants to participate, I want to do it out in Philly.
Oh, well.
That's
what?
an easy one.
I want to participate.
Oh yeah, you know you're
Wait, have you-
automatically invited to anything
awesome.
I do.
Wait, well, why don't you just? Yeah, all right. Well, all right. We'll talk about this later. That sounds great, though. Well, we can even talk about this in the weekend as well, possibly for a
Right.
little.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to talk to you guys about that because I would love to have both of you guys involved in something like that as well.
Oh,
All right, cool. All right. Any
you were an
more
angel
shout
without wings.
More shout outs? Anything else?
I just want to shout both of you guys out. You
Gracious.
you have a single that you just came out with that I just finally heard and I absolutely love it.
Oh, Detonate.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And then I want to shout out Isaac for just having some of the most amazing energy on his sets in
Oh, I'm
Circuit
trying.
Zero and just really contributing to make it such a amazing tour. I also want to shout out a hero, Simple Syrup, and Van Gogh, and everyone involved with that as well. All of the supporting artists, Sonovision Deluxe, Disco Holic, Fiber, all of them have been so understanding with the whole process, and I'm so thankful I was able to work with everybody. Shout out to Lux Elite for helping us secure one of them, one of the venues. Same with Ronnie and a hero and Sev. That's basically it.
Some phenomenal people. Chris, you want to go ahead and go first?
You go first. I gotta get
Okay.
my links.
So we got the tape swap, Utopia District tape swap, right? Taking place on Friday, and your boys on the lineup. 20 minutes of some banging future funk. So show up at about, it's going from, I want to say noon to 11. Show up at about 2:15, and I will be on the decks in between trucks passing trucks and somebody who I embarrassingly have forgotten. And I'll probably remember as
When
soon
do you
as
go on again? Actually, I'm sorry. When do you
I
go
go
on
on at
again?
about 2:15. I would love to see you there.
I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get to New York in time.
There, you know what, man? It's okay,
Work on it.
but I would love to
I'm
see
gonna work on it.
anybody and everybody who's going to be.
I
at the
really,
Utopia
really
District
want to
tape
see
swap.
you live. Like that's the thing. Like I really need to see.
Oh,
you
it's
live.
well, you know,
I've
we
already seen
did
you
run an
live
ad
before.
before the show that I'm about to talk about, but before that, you know, post ElectroniCON, I've got 2 dates I'm opening up for Aurograph in Lexington, Kentucky, and Nashville, Tennessee. I've got my name on a Robert Beatty poster, along with his project Ed Sunspot and Gene Vomit Terror, opening for Aurograph. I'll be mixing between sets, so really fired up about that. And you can ask Lux. I've been working feverishly on you know, transitional sets, and then opening with iClick and DJ Cryanami, otherwise known as Droner. If anybody knows Steven Droner, real good homie, opening in Vaporium, Nashville. That's August 28th, and the Lexington date is August 27th. Following that, if you were tuning in early, we have our very own Vaporspace St. Louis and Hot Takes presents Terminally Hot. Coming up September 24th, featuring myself, the good doctor, Skeleton Lipstick, Tuwa, who's in the chat, and Stack Overflow. Shout out Tuwa, OG artist. And Stack Overflow's been around for a while too. Not as long as Tuwa, but quite a while. It's going to be at Platypus in St. Louis on September 24th. If you love Hot Takes and you're within a certain radius of St. Ronnie, you got to come out. It's going to be fucking fire. You cannot miss
any show. You cannot miss any.
It's going to be fire. I'm pulling out all the stops for Ronnie and for Chris. Like,
oh, I can't wait.
I've never been more excited. So come party with us September 24. There's probably something else that I'm forgetting, but I will see all of you at ElectroniCON this weekend, and I will give my platform to you, Chris.
Sure. Okay. I guess first of all, new song "The Rules" is on the. Sorry, hold on 1 second. Oh, anyway, some work message. Anyway, new song called "The Rules," which is on the Doom Mix compilation, along with such other phenomenal artists as Luxury Elite, Vape Error, Fiber, Discoholic, Eyeliner, Skylar Spence, and Pop Culture, among others, all on this compilation as well. Check it out if you haven't already yet. And, of course, in addition to that, I have another song called Detonate, which you can listen to on all streaming services or get off my Bandcamp. Also, if you like, purchase a copy or go listen to the Polymath Vampire album, which is on Business Casual. That is my melodic ambient album about life, death, and existence. And then, of course, go purchase the Glows Then Melts album from Neil Juice Records in either a splatter vinyl variant or a glow in the dark vinyl variant, because they're very pretty. They look very cool, and it's nice. And in addition to that, obviously, Isaac's already mentioned the September with our dear friend Ronnie, also previous guest of the show, Ronnie, right? And in addition to that, I do have a new album I just finished writing. I just finished organizing together called Kingdom of Death. So that's an interesting.
Is this the one? The new direction of Skeleton Lipstick?
No, this has actually been written over the last 12 years during times where I've ever been anxious.
Oh, he's got the Polymath Vampire on cassette.
It's amazing.
Sick looking album.
So much.
I always say it's my favorite thing Chris has done.
We worked really hard on that. I'm happy. It's an odd little piece, but I'm happy it connects with people. And it's an interesting album, but I'm pretty proud of it. There's a lot of interesting synth work. But anyway, I got a new Skeleton Lipstick album, which I've just sort of compiled, called Kingdom of Death.
Kingdom of Death.
It's been written over about 12 different years during times of anxiety or depression or loneliness, and but it's been done in my style. It is definitely, I would say, if you need an example of what hypnagoth, I'm referring to it as hypnagothic music, hypnagothic pop, if you will, because it's basically a combination of vaporwave techniques, lo-fi, and cold wave music. You'll like it. I think it's a fascinating little journey. I'm pretty proud of it, and I think I'm gonna put it out there soon. I think it's done. It's been being worked on for a while, but yeah, and I've got other albums that I'm gonna do next. But this one feels important to put out now. And all the songs flow together. It's very interesting stuff. I think you guys will find it fascinating. And more information on that as we go. I've been teasing it a little bit on my Instagram story, but I got to figure out what I'm going to do and how I'm going to release it. I haven't decided on all that stuff yet. But anyway, I don't even know how I'm going to release it yet. I'm not sure if I only want to release it on cassette or even make it available digitally. I'm not sure. I don't know yet. Not sure what I want to do. But it's interesting, and it's a bit of a journey and a deep dive into the world of catharsis. So, Kingdom of Death. Look for it soon.
Let's hear it for Be Careful, everybody. Thank you so much for being a part of this wonderful community. And thank you, community, for being such a part of this show. We appreciate you tuning in tonight. And it means so much that you gave your valuable time to us. And if you couldn't catch the whole show, catch us on social media, catch us on YouTube and podcasting services. Meet us back here in 2 weeks for an episode with Digital Sex.
Yay.
That's September
Oh, Digital Sex is
Sorry,
possibly
August.
going to be in the remix comp as well.
Oh,
how
sick.
about that?
Perfect.
Oh,
Digital Sex is going to be right here in 2
How about
weeks,
that? That was
August
the other one you
29,
couldn't remember. There we
9
go.
p.m. Eastern.
Jog your memories there.
So
All
be
right.
here, and don't forget to tell your friends to tune into Hot Takes. If you like it, and if you feel the spirit moves you, you can donate as well. But thank you guys for being who you are, and you be careful, especially. Have a lovely night.
Yeah. And if you see any of us this weekend at ElectroniCON, come say hi. I'll be there.
Come
with
say
the
hi,
news.
have a hot take ready, and a sticker. You'll get a sticker. Good night, everybody, and we love
Good
you.
night.
Wait.